I reported the mould creeping across my bedroom wall, and my landlord's response was a text that read, "Right, you've got 48 hours to pack up and get out. I want you gone. Don't make this difficult." 48 hours, because I'd asked him to deal with mould. In a home I paid rent for every month, on time, for 2 years. The mould had been getting worse for a while. I'd finally sent him photos and a polite message asking him to sort it, because it was in my bedroom and I was worried about breathing it in. A completely normal, reasonable request from a tenant to a landlord. And instead of a plumber or a damp specialist, I got a threat. Get out in 2 days, as if he could simply decide in a fit of temper that my home was no longer mine. He was furious that I dared to ask him to spend money, and his solution was to try to frighten me out of the flat entirely, to make the tenant who complained just disappear, so the complaint disappeared with her. He was betting on fear, betting that a scary text with a deadline would send me scrambling for boxes, too panicked to question whether he could actually do this. He could not actually do this, not even slightly, not remotely close to legally, and the fact that he thought he could, and put it in writing, was about to become a very large problem for him, not me. Here's what my landlord fundamentally did not understand about his own power, which turned out to be almost none. A landlord cannot evict you with a text. He cannot give you 48 hours. He cannot give you a week. He cannot change the locks, remove your things, or force you out himself. None of it. Evicting a tenant is a strict legal process. It requires the correct formal notice, in the correct form, with the correct notice period, which is far, far longer than 2 days. And if the tenant doesn't leave, it requires a court order and ultimately court-appointed bailiffs. The landlord himself is not allowed to physically remove anyone at any stage. And trying to force a tenant out any other way, threats, intimidation, 48 hours, get out, isn't just unenforceable. It's illegal eviction, and illegal eviction and harassment of a tenant are criminal offences. He wasn't threatening me from a position of strength. He was, in a single text, committing the offence himself. But there was a second layer, and it was even better, because I hadn't been threatened out of nowhere. I'd been threatened immediately after reporting a repair, and there's specific protection against that. It's sometimes called revenge eviction, where a landlord tries to evict you for complaining about the condition of your home. The law specifically steps in to block landlords from doing exactly that. So I didn't pack a single box. I stayed exactly where I was. And I did 2 things. I kept every message, especially the 48 hours get out one, which was pure gold. And I contacted the council's tenancy relations team, the people who deal with illegal eviction and harassment, and I told them everything. The council did not find my landlord's 48-hour text funny, and they made sure he understood that very quickly, because from their side, this was textbook. A tenant reports a repair. The landlord, instead of fixing it, threatens to force her out in 2 days. That's not a grumpy landlord. That's potential illegal eviction and harassment, criminal territory, wrapped around a revenge eviction the law specifically forbids, and he'd helpfully put the whole thing in writing. When the council contacted him and explained in plain terms what he'd actually done, that he had no power to evict me himself, that the 48 hours threat was potentially a criminal offence, and that trying to evict me for reporting the mould was blocked by law, the change was immediate. The threats stopped dead. The attitude evaporated. There's nothing like being told by an official body that your angry text might be a crime to recalibrate a man's confidence. And the mould? Suddenly it got dealt with. A damp specialist appeared. The wall was treated and repaired. Funny how the money materialized once get out was no longer on the table and legal obligation very much was. I stayed in that flat for the rest of my tenancy, undisturbed, and left when I chose to, on proper notice, with my deposit returned. Here's the lesson, and it's one every renter should carry. A landlord cannot evict you with a text, a phone call, or a threat. Not in 48 hours, not in 48 minutes. Eviction is a slow, strict legal process with a court at the end of it. And trying to force you out any other way is a crime, not a power. And if the threats come because you dared to report a repair, the law protects you even harder. Don't pack a single box out of fear. Keep the messages, call the council, and stand your ground. Has a landlord ever tried to frighten you out of your own home? Drop it in the comments, and if you want more complete stories with no part 2s that never come, follow the page. New story every day.